Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a tropical outlook on the 13th of August 2025. In this video, we will be focusing on the Atlantic Ocean, particularly on tropical storm Erin, which is looking more and more likely to become our first major hurricane of the season. We also have two areas of interest to monitor, one of them located in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean, which currently estimated to have no chance to develop 0% there, and the new one moving across the Yucatan Peninsula, also with a low chance of development for 2 and 7 days. So in this video, we will pretty much be solely focusing on tropical storm Erin, which is quite the hot talking topics right now. So let's talk about Erin, currently estimated to have winds of 45 miles per hour, a minimum pressure of 1004 millibars, located at 16.3 degrees north, 43.4 degrees west, moving westward at 17 miles per hour at this time of recording. The system is moving quite fast and it has lost some latitude over the past 12 hours, which means it has moved more towards the south than expected, and hence why there are some slight changes in terms of the track prediction of Erin comparing to our last video. So here's what we're expecting in the next 5 days. For the next 2 days, it will generally remain as a tropical storm, mid to high range, but by Friday it will become a Category 1 hurricane. After that, it will begin to move towards the northwest, whilst continuing to close in on the northern part of the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico. That includes places like the Virgin Islands, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, etc. And there are obviously lots more island nation over there. They will perhaps see some slight impacts coming from Erin during the weekend. By Sunday, it will moving away from land. It will be moving away there. That's also the time we expect it to hit major hurricane status, Category 3 here, and it will still be intensifying as we enter next week. So it could reach even higher intensity even after 5 days. So we're expecting a really powerful hurricane here. So this is the European ensembles. We always look at them. Not a lot of divergence up until we go into the weekend. Before then, most models expecting a shift towards the northwest starting from tomorrow. The consensus also showing a trend of Erin not going to be too close to the Caribbean islands. They generally agree on the track that is kind of curving away from land and moving to the northern part of the Atlantic later. The main divergence now is how early and how big the curvature is going to happen and going to be. You can see these predicted position of Erin on Tuesday next week is quite scattered. There's a pretty big difference on the models expecting where it will be. But in general, the members are expecting a track offshore. We can also sample the other computer models, including models like GFS, UK model, Canadian, German, etc. And surprisingly, all of them agree on a curved track that is similar to the European model. Erin will peel away from land, not one singular model expecting any direct hit on the Caribbean nations, which make this a pretty good news. So let's look at the wind forecast. That's going to be a bit more detailed. This is the GFS model run, expecting Erin to gradually develop more tropical storm force winds in the next 2 days and 48 hours. And on Saturday, some of those yellow spots begin to develop and appear. That indicates hurricane force wind developing around the center. And in terms of winds on land, well, some slightly stronger winds could be felt around the northern part of the Leeward Islands, such as Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, etc. But those winds is expected to be kept below tropical storm force winds, so it's not going to be too damaging. And the system will begin to peel away towards the north while strengthening and expanding in terms of the size of its wind field. Is expected to make a really close approach to Bermuda, perhaps as a major hurricane. We will begin to talk about the forecast for Bermuda in future videos, and here it will continue to move northwest and eventually transition into extratropical cyclone. This is the tropical storm force wind probability forecast provided by the official National Hurricane Center, currently still kept relatively low. Most of the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico and even the Dominican Republic are in a zone of around 5, 10 to 20%, a little bit higher if we go into areas like the British Virgin Islands and Anguilla, which is sitting at 30%. We also need to look at the precipitation forecast, which is how much rainfall these areas are going to get in the next few days. This latest GFS run, we can see starting from the 16th, some of those outer band of rainfall will begin to move in to the Leeward Islands, and on the 17th it will also begin to affect the region of Puerto Rico, and after that the rain will pretty much be gone, and so we need to keep our heads up for heavier rainfall at the weekend in areas we just mentioned earlier. So we could see an increase in wave heights across the northern part of the Caribbean and even the US East Coast as we enter next week. Some rip currents changes could occur. Some slightly higher wave heights could be seen around the coastline. And of course, Bermuda is going to get a pretty big hit of storm surge. Pretty high wave heights expected if Erin does impact with severe intensity such as Category 3 or even Category 4 hurricane status. So, Erin right now still looking quite small and compact. Some convection flaring up in the last few frames. Definitely more convection compared to yesterday. That is likely due to it moving into warmer sea surface temperatures, which ultimately allows thunderstorms to develop. Good outer flow towards the west, looking like still affected by some dry air. But as it intensifies, it will become more capable to push the dry air away from itself, which allows it to pick up its intensity after all. So sea surface temperature right now, Erin sitting at around 27 degrees, but as it moves westward, you can see warmer sea surface temperature sitting ahead of it up to 29 degrees towards the left-hand side of our picture, which is another factor that's going to allow significant intensification from Erin. Wind shear also going to have a slight increase in the next few days, but in general it wouldn't really be affecting Erin that much. Hence why the majority of the computer models, as you can see on the graph, expecting at least a major Category 3 hurricane, some even expecting Category 4 status. And even when the lines end, as the forecast ends, the direction of them is still straight going upwards, so the models are expecting sooner or rather later, Erin is still going to become a powerful hurricane, likely a major hurricane. So we will be continuing to monitor Erin over the next couple of days. Stay tuned and have a nice evening. Thanks for watching.